Hey, Slick Talkers, thank you so much for tuning into this podcast. And I know that if you love this show, you'll also love my morning show called Good Morning Hospitality with my co hosts Michael Golden and Brandy Canali, as we spend 30 minutes every Monday morning to dive into the industry's top latest news and trending topics. So go check it out on wherever you find your podcasts at Good Morning Hospitality. And you can live stream with us on Monday mornings on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and of course, YouTube. Now, I hope you enjoy this episode.
Welcome to Slick Talk, the hospitality podcast where we discuss all things hospitality, hotels, and business. You can find us online at slicktalkthepodcast.com and on every podcast listening platform.
Well, good afternoon, my Slick Talkers and hospitality professionals. It is Tuesday, 2 p.m. here. I'm excited for this episode of Slick Talk, the Hospitality Podcast, just because I have a special guest who actually reached out to me via email. And today I have the pleasure of introducing Adam Knight, 20-year-plus veteran in the hospitality industry, working for high-end hotels from the Caribbean to California, and also taking some schooling in British Columbia. So, without further ado, introducing this episode of Slick Talk, the Hospitality Podcast. So you want to become a hotel manager. I'm excited to introduce Adam. Adam, how are you doing today?
Well, how about you?
Cannot complain. I'm pumped for this episode and just want to say thank you again for reaching out. This kind of actually helped give me a boost to start podcasting again. So I'm really excited for this episode.
That's great. Thanks for having me on. It's really great to be here.
Yeah, I'm pumped. I kind of wanted to go into a little bit because you've been doing this for about 20 years now, from, like you said, a pot washer to general manager and more for the last 20 years. And it's kind of funny because the joke that you said is that you've been doing this longer than you haven't been doing this. And so I really want to dive into kind of for any of our listeners actually that are on right now, if you've seen my blog on the Slick Talk, the Hospitality Podcast.com, you can kind of see more of Adam's story. But really, I really want to kind of dive into, let's say, your first position, like you said, as a pot washer in the British Columbia hotel scene and up to general manager and on higher positions. Kind of tell us a little bit what made you go from your first position to say, you know what, I love washing dishes, but I'm gonna continue this route and go into management.
I'll try to distill the story because it's a long one. It covers a little over 2 decades. But I started, as you said, as a pot washer in Jasper, Alberta, at what was the Canadian Pacific Jasper Park Lodge at the time. So this is all the way back in the mid-90s. And the one thing that I knew for sure when I finished high school is that I didn't want to go on to university, on to college. I just wanted to get out and work and experience life and just start contributing. So we, as a family growing up, we stayed at this hotel a lot. It's a ski resort, ski destination in the Canadian Rockies. And I applied just out of the blue for a position and got hired as a pot washer, working the 7 p.m. to 3 a.m. shift. And honestly, I fell in love with it. It was the first time that I had the chance to really work with and get to know people from different parts of the country, different parts of the world, different cultures. And it was just that much of an eye-opening experience that I really wanted to get as much as I could out of the industry. And it really just went from there. Worked in Jasper for a little over a year. I moved back to Edmonton, Alberta, where I grew up. Took a job as a bellman at a hotel in downtown Edmonton. And then after a few years doing that job, it was about time to think about going on to school. So I found this hotel program at Camosun College in Victoria, British Columbia, Hotel Restaurant Administration. And after 5 or so years of being out of school, dove right back in and had an absolutely incredible experience doing that program. I had some real world experience under my belt at that point. So it allowed me to really, I think, get a a different understanding of the educational component of this program because I was able to see it in practice with the experience that I had. And then wrapped that program up after a couple of years, joined up with CP Fairmont again in Calgary, worked on the private concierge floor at the property there, the Palliser. And that was a little over a year, a really great experience. It was my first time really getting my hands into what true luxury experience is all about, really high touch service and what it was like to really craft experiences for guests. And after that, I mean, things just really took off. At the time, the only real international outpost in CP and Fairmont was Bermuda and Barbados. So I had an opportunity to join with the Hamilton Princess in Bermuda as guest services manager. And that was my first true management position. And things really just took off from there. Moved to the US not long after that, to San Francisco, took on a role in the city. Now I'm actually in San Francisco now. And then moved all over, went up to Seattle, down to Orange County, out east to Washington, D.C., spent a short amount of time in Pittsburgh. I went to Barbados. I mean, I really feel like I've covered the North American continent pretty well.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, from kind of taking your pot washing experience to school and then your first guest service manager position, when you took that position, what did you expect? Because I know you had a little bit of schooling under your belt with a little bit of life experience or hands-on experience kind of before schooling. What did you really expect, and how did that turn out for you in a bigger sense of the topics since that we're talking about you want to become a hotel manager?
Right. Well, it's a really great question. And, you know, thinking back to the expectation that I had for the role, I think that not having truly led anybody in any managerial context up until that point, I really thought that if you had the title manager, you know, in your position, that people would follow your direction and, you know, do what it is that needs to get done. So going into the role, I assumed that it would be that easy because I had no context. And I found out very quickly that is very much not the case. It's 100% opposite. It went totally the other direction. You know, you really, in a short way of describing it, you have to take the time to get to know people, to build relationships, and people don't follow the position, they follow the person. And if they don't have any trust, or they don't feel that the person that they're reporting to will provide a safe environment for them to thrive, it's going to make your job a lot harder. I think you're going to find getting work done through other people really isn't going to go the way that you plan.
So in a sense, you're kind of taking on another guest. You're going from a guest service representative, taking care of guests and people from all over the world and different cultures and other experiences, to really taking on a team, but you're also, in a way, you're not only taking care of the guests through actions with them, but you're also taking care of them as if they were your own guests in a way.
You know, in that kind of a position, you're not really on the front line so much anymore. There's a higher level of, you know, back office work and some filing and administrative work that needs to get done. So you don't get to be in front of the guest as often as you would be when you were in a frontline position. And so your success in large part is really predicated on getting work done through other people. And you really need your team on the front line to be performing at a high level, to want to do the job that they have and do it really well. And, you know, all of the different metrics that we use in hospitality that grade success come along with that. And so when you start seeing, you know, whether it's guest service scores go up or go down, and, you know, maybe upsells, if you're on the front desk, go up or go down, and whatever other metrics that you're looking at, that's really in large part due to your ability to lead your team. At the end of the day, you have to look at yourself and your skills and how you're interacting with your team.
Well, so for me, when I first actually kind of dove into the industry, and something I don't know if you experienced the same thing as what I'm trying to say. Before you became a manager, When you were kind of on the front line, whether it was guest services or pot washing or whatever it may be, do you kind of wish, because this is what I experienced, do you wish that somebody saw that fire in you, the passion to learn more, the drive to do better and provide excellent service with every interaction you have with guests or staff, but you never received it? You never received that kind of mentorship? No one really, they saw the passion, but they didn't really do anything about it? Or is this just kind of my experience in the beginning?
No, I think that that's the case. I think if you ask just about anybody, they'll agree with that position. It's one of those things where until you are sitting in that chair, you don't have a really full understanding of all of the inputs that a manager deals with on a day-to-day basis. And the really good ones are able to manage them, to prioritize in a way that makes sense, and they understand that it's team first and everything else comes after that. And part of that team first mentality is making sure that you're giving mentorship and feedback to people. It's got to be not just good feedback, you're giving feedback for improvement, and it's got to be done on the spot. And you're coaching people along and almost course correcting behavior and actions to make sure that everybody's moving in the same direction. And part of that is understanding and talking to your people about what it is that they want to do with their career. Where are they trying to go? While they're spending their 8 to 10 hours a day working at the front desk, for example, what do they want to accomplish in the next 6, 12, 18, 24 months? And then it's your responsibility as a leader to make sure that you're able to provide that for them, or get them into a position where they can get the things that they want.
Exactly. So you're not just kind of doing your job as in a manager, taking care of payroll and scheduling and all the other stuff, but you're kind of, not in a bad way, but in a kind of a shepherding way. You're herding. You're kind of getting people in the right direction, kind of telling them, hey, you're going too far this way. We need you to go straighter this way, yada yada, and that kind of aspect. You're really kind of setting the tone and the pace for the team.
Work for your team at the end of the day, and you can't get it mixed up that yes, you have a direct supervisor, whoever that is in the hierarchy, but
of course
you work for your team.
Of course.
So you have to have that.
So in a way, the management, this can kind of also go in a couple different ways. They say the best leaders are the ones who eat last, who sit last, who really are serving, not telling or bossing.
That's 100% true. I've heard a lot. You probably have too through my career. Is leading from the front, and leading from the front doesn't mean the first one to take a break and the first one to get out of there and the first one to get down and get a plate of food. It really means that you are leading the team to the place that you're trying to go, and you're making sure that they have all of the tools and the knowledge that they need to be successful. It's being communicative. It's being, there when they need you. It's being that, that shoulder to cry on. It's being that person that rallies the troops. It's being that person who brings in donuts and coffee and, gets people pumped up for a tough day. You have to wear a lot of hats. You've got to know that going into it. Now, you're not going to have those skills when you go into it, but those are the things that you need to know, that you need to develop as you move through your career.
So I kind of, excuse me, I have two other points, and this is kind of one in a way of people that are in the management role already or are in higher than just management, GM, director of whatever role. Do you see, because there's a high turnover rate for training hotel staff and hotel staff in general. The market has a very high turnover rate, and there can be many factors such as culture, management style, the person who's employed, really just wanting a 9-to-5 job, but ended up not working out for them, whatever they may be. Do you see, from a higher standpoint, maybe if there's a general manager listening to this podcast, do you see a point as if there may be a fire in somebody, but do you see with that high turnover rate is worth the investment? Kind of pouring into that person that's got that passion, or are you a little hesitant because you're afraid that the more you envelop them or get more experience and show them more of the back end stuff and whatnot, that they're gonna kind of drop out of the race.
I think that you need to take the time to truly get to know the people and develop them. And I'd rather have somebody who's engaged and performing at a really high level for 6 months than someone who's just phoning it in for 2 years and really not operating at a very high level. And maybe in some cases bringing the team down on the back end if you're not careful. I think you absolutely need to develop people. The nice thing about hospitality, working in a hotel, you have an opportunity to touch so many different professions. I think this is something that people don't really have front of mind. If you want to get into culinary, or you want to be a sommelier, or you want to be in accounting, or if you have a passion for safety and security, or engineering, or sales and marketing, or event planning, whatever your passion is, you can do that in a hotel. But you just may not know what that thing is that gets the fire going for you. So getting into a property and getting a chance, especially if you work with a manager who gives you the latitude to get your hands in some of these different pots. So, you may start as a front desk agent, but find that, I really am happiest when I'm working in the kitchen. I love being a cook. And if you've got a leader that can mold you in that direction, then I think both people are winning. Because, again, at the end of the day, as you mentioned, turnover's high. It's really hard to get people into the industry. So I think we have a responsibility as leaders to find the passion in people, the things that want to keep them in the industry so they can have long careers.
Well, especially with the turnover rate thing, it's really hard, which I've seen because I've been through about 5 different properties in a restaurant by now. And the one thing I'm noticing is hard to get the younger generation involved in the hotel or even to get in the industry itself. And I think it has a lot to do with, it doesn't have a lot to do with this, but in a sense, you would think it would be more appealing to the younger generation because schooling costs are so high. Many people don't know exactly what they want to do yet, whether they're fresh out of high school, they're a few years out. You would think that the hotel industry would be more appealing because there's so many options. Like you said, accounting, front desk, hotels, reservations, kitchen, you name it. There's sales and event coordinating. So many options that you think, being able to dab a little bit into every department would be more kind of a learning tool, a life experience, and kind of an education system for the younger generation to get into the industry.
Yeah, it would. And, we see a lot of success when we go to some of the hotel schools out there. Many of the big programs in the country, you know what they are, have hotel companies come and recruit. They do big recruiting fairs right near the graduation time. And they do get a lot of success from that. But yeah, you're right. The fact is that everybody who's coming out of those schools, or a large majority of people coming out of schools like that, want to get directly into leadership roles.
True.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I love that ambition. I had that ambition, when I was coming out of school. The hard part is that a lot of times hospitality is an industry where you get rewarded with having experience over having education to a certain degree. To a certain degree. It's definitely not a hard and fast rule, but you find a lot where people have worked their way up through different roles, rather than just coming in from the outside with a big degree and then getting in and whether it's running a department or running a hotel. So it's tricky. You've got to be willing to go in and pay your dues, so to speak, and getting an understanding of the lay of the land, especially in some of the more complex, the bigger properties, to understand how they work, all the moving parts. We're talking in some cases, well over $100 million businesses here. And, and it's big business.
Well, it's just kind of like the aspect of most of my managers that I've had in the past, they've all started out kind of like what you said and where you've been through is they all kind of started out in the back of house, doing the crap job that nobody wanted to do, but they needed the job, and worked their way up to 5, 6, 7 years later, they're director of front office or whatever it may be. Because I think not even just in hospitality, a lot of companies and industries would rather have or hire somebody at a lower position and see their dedication after a couple of years of work and learning and mentorship, rather than hiring right out of school, if I may be correct or incorrect on that. But I don't know, from a point, because you were a general manager at one point, so would you have rather had one of your front desk agents become the front office manager after 3 or 4 years of dedication to the guests? Or would you rather hire somebody outside of school that has a killer resume?
That's a great question. I hate to generalize, but I would say, given the opportunity to hire somebody with experience versus no experience, I'm going to go with experience every time. And I think that there's something to be said when you get into a management role, and when you're finally leading people, you can never ask them to do something that you're not willing to do yourself.
Totally.
And if you have got the background and the experience of cleaning rooms and checking people in, and you know what it's like to have to relocate somebody at a full hotel at 11 o'clock on a Friday night when there's no open rooms within 5 miles of your hotel. There's a team building and a credibility aspect that comes with that when you're managing a team. And I don't think that you can discount that. It's not to say that you can't be successful if you don't have experience doing, A, B, or C. But, in the context of leading a team, your team, in a lot of cases, will lead or follow your direction, and rally behind you if you've been in the trenches with them.
Exactly. So instead of being at a desk, typing in numbers and looking at reservations kind of as reservations instead of people, seeing you out in the front line, dealing with guest issues, but also dealing with happy guests and groups and all this other stuff, makes it more appealing to them, because they see, yes, I may be getting paid less, but my boss is doing the same job and more. So that's the person I want to be behind in a way, is what you're kind of saying, right?
Exactly right. You can't just sit in the back and direct the team. It really helps to be on the floor with them, shoulder to shoulder, and seeing what's going on the floor with the guest in real time. Because the flip side to that is there are going to be times where the company, the hotel, your department, you inadvertently put up barriers that make it harder for your team to do their jobs. And it may just be a procedure that's put in place or some new practice that seemed like a good idea at the time. But when you actually work with it with guests in real time, you find out that it's just really not the right thing to be doing. And you won't know that if you're not on the floor and working with the team, on a day-to-day basis to see how those new practices or procedures are actually unfolding.
I totally agree with you on that one. So my last question, I think we're going to use here for this session of podcasting, is just going to be, out of the 20 plus years you've been doing this, you've finally opened up your own consulting firm, Proven Principles, out in California. But you've also, like you said, you've had VP experience, you've had general manager experience. So I'm pretty new into not new, but I'm pretty new to the management role for my day job, but then also having my consulting company on the side. So what kind of advice would you give someone who is wanting to make this a career instead of just a job, a 9-to-5, who's wanting to kind of take that management role, who has that fire? Because like I said, when I first started, I was very new. I started out at a 4-diamond property for my first property ever, at the front desk with 700 rooms with, very high-end experience. As a new guy, I was nervous and scared, but then once I got my bearings and my kind of feet wet, big passion, big fire for the industry, and it's what's kept me going ever since. What kind of advice would you hand down to somebody like that? especially now that I'm in a management role and I'm learning from this advice, not only from you, but also this just podcast session in general, where would you kind of help the kindling burn a little bit for that person, so to say?
I think that if you want to have a long career, I'll try to make it a short answer, but get involved in everything. Get your hands into, every aspect of what's going on in a hotel, because, as we all know, it's a complex animal. There's a lot of moving parts there. So the more knowledge that you can have about it, the more well-rounded you're going to be as a manager, as a leader. You are also probably at some point going to figure out what it is that you're passionate about. So, again, to the point earlier about what you want to do, you're only going to know that by doing, right? So get involved in a lot of things. And this is some advice that, some people may follow or may not, but, it worked well for me, is go where the work is. Don't stay put. The beauty of this industry is you can get paid to see the world.
Oh, yeah.
You can move to any corner of the earth. You can live and work in places that people save up their entire lives to visit one time. And you can live there, and you can experience the local culture, and you can make lifelong friends all over the world. So, every time you travel to Paris, you're going to be able to go see, so-and-so that you worked with back in Miami, for example. That's probably, for me anyway, that was the most compelling part of this entire journey that I've been on now for over 20 years, is the relationships with the people that I've built over the years. It's really the most rewarding part.
I actually was just going to make a point about this earlier. I still have guests that I've checked in, multiple times, repeat guests from my first hotel that I still talk to today. And it's been like 2 or 3 years. Like, we still text, we still call, we're still involved in each other's families. And even the coworkers I had during that time still are in deep contact with each other. And so I think you're pretty much dead on that spot, is that if you're passionate for people, and not only the backside of the industry, learning about revenue and all this other kind of stuff, but you're passionate about people, different walks of life, travel, different cultures, just like you said, this is kind of the perfect spot to be, because you're going to have kind of like the military. From my military experience, you're going to have people, friendships that you're going to have forever, whether you're stationed together for a week or a month. You just kind of have those bonds that will never go away.
Yeah, I still have people that I worked with 15 years ago that we're in touch and friendly today, and we'll call each other and bounce ideas off of one another. And it's hands down, for me anyway, it's the best part.
Perfect. Well, kind of give us a little. We're kind of running out of time. We have a few more minutes, and I kind of just want to dive into proven principles a little bit. Give us, if somebody's a GM right now, or hire manager in a hotel, or a owner of a vacation rental, whatever it may be, kind of tell us about the services you provide, along with kind of your goal and mission with this company.
So I started Proven Principles earlier this year. It is a consulting and coaching company that helps hotels and vacation rental owners optimize their operations and train their staff. So there's a couple of our signature programs. We offer a service fundamentals training program, and it's three parts. Each part is 2 hours long of on-site training, where we go through everything from how you present yourself with the guests, all the way through how to emotionally connect with guests when they're on property to really enhance their experience. And so it's very comprehensive. It's great for everybody who's just starting from day one, or those veterans that have been in the industry for 10, 15, 20 years and may have forgotten a few of the finer points about hospitality, engaging hospitality service. The other side is that we work very closely with vacation rental property owners and hosts to optimize their operation. And what I mean by that is, a lot of people get into the Airbnb and VRBO game, but they don't have a background in hospitality. So setting up their property for guests and understanding all of the steps involved to get their place ready and get those 5-star reviews that are so crucial. How to set their rates and all of the other little nuances of running what is effectively a decentralized hotel. We help people do that better so that they can generate more revenue, get better reviews, and bring in more profit.
So kind of just a smooth interaction with guests from the point of booking to the point of checkout, that there's no kind of just a smooth operation from A to B to C in a way.
That's exactly right. From before the reservation is made all the way through to departure, all the touch points that need to be hit throughout the time that the guest is with you, and how to keep that business coming in. Because at the end of the day, that's what people want.
Exactly. So branding, marketing, revenue management, amenities, flow of the property. Because like you said, you're pretty much a GM of a tiny, very tiny hotel.
Right.
And so I really think that's really worth it because of just the industry. I don't know if you've seen the TV show, what's it called on Netflix, Travel Here or something like that, or Visit Here.
Yep.
Yeah, Stay Here. That's what it is. And so they kind of made a good point of it, that you're a GM of a small hotel, so that you're kind of doing all this from a big hotel property, what they do as one person, from running a website to reservations to amenities, partnerships with local providers, to the cleaning of the hotel or your property in a way. And so it's kind of getting aspects on the generalization of running that property.
You know, the name of the company, Proven Principles, came about because there are tried and true practices and principles and procedures that have been operating in the luxury hospitality world for a long time. And with my background and knowledge in that sphere, I'm able to bring those concepts and make them work in the vacation rental space.
Perfect. Well, I posted on the blog, about your information. Where else can people find, Proven Principles and kind of finding some of that content that you're putting out on the web?
So Proven Principles has a Facebook page. It's The Proven Principles. You can also find Proven Principles on Instagram, The Proven Principles. I'm on Instagram too, at Adam Knight. And we've got our website, theprovenprinciples.com. We're working on a few fun things right now with Alexa skills and a few other little tidbits that are going to be coming down the pipe soon. So really excited about that.
Perfect. Well, I just want to say thank you for being on the show. Seriously, I never expected anybody from California to reach out to me that listened to my podcast. So to truly have you on my podcast has been exciting for me. And it kind of shows also for me, for what I'm doing, that something's working. If I can get a 20-year veteran that wants to get on my Slick Talk show, then obviously we got something good. So again, I just want to say thank you for being on here, and for all my listeners that are really listening and got through the whole episode. Just take a look on our website, slicktalkthepodcast.com. You can find more information about Adam and his company, Proven Principles. Also, you can check out his website, social medias. And I just want to say thank you for being on the show, Adam.
Appreciate it, Will. Thanks so much.
It's my pleasure. We'll talk soon.
You bet.
Bye.
Thank you all for listening. For more information on this episode of Slick Talk, the Hospitality Podcast, you can check it out online, slicktalkthepodcast.com. For more information about Adam and his company, theprovenprinciples.com. And for future episodes, because Adam and I will be launching a podcasting series for those in the hospitality, hotel, and vacation rental industry.
Thank you so much for listening. We love your support and want to provide the best we can to all our listeners. So please find us online, social media, and on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Google Podcast.
What's up, everybody? If you've gotten this far into the episode of Slick Talk, the Hospitality Podcast, then you are amazing, and thank you so much for tuning in. We want to send you two places really quickly. If you can, check out the show notes and click the hospitality.fm link. Check out all of our other shows on the podcast network. And don't forget, if you have someone that you want to hear on the podcast, then fill out the guest fill out form so that way we can get them on the show. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy another episode of Slick Talk, the hospitality podcast.